Welcome to SIM-PAC Live. I'm your host, Geoffrey Matthews. Today we're exploring why small business decarbonisation is the new frontier. SMEs are a high aggregate impact and underserved sector. According to the OECD, SMEs collectively have a significant environmental footprint, particularly in energy use and emissions, yet they have historically been overlooked in policy and climate strategies. That makes them both critical and full of opportunity. Add to that the growing regulatory pressure, new government support programs, and the clear business upside of lower costs and stronger customer trust. And it's obvious why small business will be essential for reaching net zero. Which brings me to my guest, Brendon Downey, from the event crew. Brendon and I go back to our days representing New Zealand in triathlon and Ironman, though he was younger and faster. And since 2016, we've been discussing how he could decarbonise his event business, running triathlons, marathons, fun runs and family health and fitness events. Now the technology has caught up with the ambition. Solar and batteries at home and work, and an EV on the way with vehicle-to-grid capability, and a shift from petrol generators to clean, rechargeable kit. Brendon's story is a perfect example of this new frontier in action. So let's dive in. Great to see you, Brendon.
G'day, Jeff. Good to be here.
Yeah, no, nice to have you on the show. Now, as I said in my introduction, you and I have been talking about this for donkey's years, and how to decarbonise your business in particular, because you run events, triathlons, marathons, family health and fitness events, and it's part of the journey was, decarbonising and not using fossil fuels and using those noisy petrol-driven generators for your business. And I know you've been ahead of the curve in wanting to try and get things today that weren't even available. And so we've had to be a little bit patient, but we're at that point now that we're really starting to get somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Jeff. There's a few small things we've done along the way, and there's a few moments of inflection points where we've been able to see some big change. We'll talk about that, and then I can see where we're sort of going to go over the next sort of 18 months, and then we'll see. I think small business has a big role to play because, especially here in Australia, there's so many small businesses. It's a large part of the energy and decarbonisation, but the incentives just haven't been there for small business people.
Yes, and let's firstly look at your business and your situation. You are in a building. Do you own your own building?
Yeah, we do, and that actually was probably one of the first real inflection points of change for us. So we went from renting a smaller warehouse with about 180 square meters to we're in quite a large warehouse now as our business kind of grew, and we had the ability to purchase as well. We're now in a 420 square meter. Effectively, it's a galvanized steel building with an office warehouse and mezzanine area inside it.
And that gives you roof space that you can put solar on.
Yeah, and so what happened was when we purchased the property, the agent didn't even say, "Hey, there's 10 kilowatts of solar on your roof." So we get into this building and we purchased it, and we find that we've already got 10 kilowatts of solar coming into a system that was installed in 2016. So, and this was in 2018 that we bought the property, and I think that's what at that time real estate agents weren't even thinking about the real value of what that was for a business like ours, or for other businesses that are actually more energy intensive.
Yeah, didn't even include it in the specs and try and get some money back for the 10 kilowatts installed. But to unlock that 10 kilowatts, I mean, you're getting that solar during the day. You couldn't use it all because you're not an energy intensive business as such. So I assume you were just exporting it to the grid.
Yeah, that's right. So the other thing that really kind of brought us to this kind of conversation in more depth was we switched to Amber, which is a subscription service. There's probably a few of them around now. I don't know. Uh, so what happened was our energy price during the day basically went to zero. It went to, a few cents a kilowatt if we were using it, or in our case, we're using the solar. So uh, the thing about the business as opposed to our home was that matched when we were there. So we're there. We've got solar. So immediately our power bill, even though we were in a building that was 3 times the size of what we were, and um, should be using a lot more power. Actually, our power bill went down for those two reasons combined. We had solar on the roof, and we're in Queensland, so even in winter we're getting at least a few kilowatts per hour over the most of the day. So it's so that immediately sort of went, "Oh, okay, that's a huge benefit that we weren't expecting," but it started the conversation about home as well, because that's not the case at home. Uh, we've got we're not there during the day, so solar an interesting thing during the day at home.
Yes, because you got how much you got? Six kilowatt of solar at home?
Yeah, 6.6 kilowatts at home. As we've got 10.2 or something, but probably degraded a little bit now because it's 2016. But both 5 kilowatt converters.
And I remember us having a conversation a few years back, and you rang me up and said, Jeff, the batteries aren't ready to come in yet into the market. How do I use my power myself? And I said, go down to Bunnings and buy some timers. And
Yeah.
tell me what you actually achieved by that use.
Yeah, we did that. So firstly, so our Sparky, who does work for us at home, came and did some upgrades when we upgraded our house, and he put a couple of analog timers into our home system. Which one was for our pool filter, which is running I think 450 or 500 watts when it's on. So it's a big chunk of power. So that we put the timer around that, and then I put a timer around the hot water cylinder at home. So we weren't drawing power in those really expensive peak periods, because now we're on Amber. It meant that if we heated our hot water during the middle of the day at home, and then we delayed reheating water until late evening and heat the water up until 4 a.m. in the morning, it actually worked. Even with teenagers in the house, it was effective. We weren't running out of hot water. So so we did that at work as well. We don't use a lot of hot water at work, but we've got an analog built into the into our power box. But I also then bought these, whatever they are, like $7.50, $8 analog timers, and you just put them straight into the power sockets. And it's across things like fridges and freezers. And then I actually have one on the washing machine as well, just so that if someone turned on the washing machine at a high peak time, that it wouldn't work. So that would just give them a bit of a boost. Because one of the things that we found, and this is both on site at the events and in the office, is you've got to bring your staff with you, but you don't necessarily tell them, hey, this is what we're doing. So even to the point of things like we're using rechargeable batteries in our microphones. And if I haven't got a thing on the microphone that says rechargeable batteries do not throw out, when they run out on site, they get thrown out. So you immediately lost the benefit. So you have to bring your staff with you. So there's just a few things like that we've sort of learned along the way.
I also know that you've been eyeing up electric vehicles for quite some time. And one of the biggest problems you had in Queensland was being able to use the solar off your own roof to charge. How's that situation evolving for you now?
Right. So obviously we're right at the very front of that now. And I think the catalyst there really has been watching a few people be able to power their houses when we had the cyclone come through earlier in the year. And so we had some people who rushed to get some cabling and connectivity to put for the cars that were set up to do this, and were able to power their houses. So I started to look at that. Of course, with the change of government at a federal level, we saw the incentive, and so what we've done is I'm doing a two-step thing. So we've put in at home a new inverter, so that we've gone from an old grow watt technology inverter to this they call 6, and it's got a built-in inverter, which comes with a few benefits now that weren't available when we put that solar on their roof originally, and back in 2020, and we've only gone with an 8 kilowatt battery. And the reason why I've done that is because I know that I'm going to buy a car with 50 kilowatts, give or take. So rather than spend an extra 7 or 8 grand to get another 8 kilowatts that I can't move around, I'd rather put that money into an electric vehicle, which, by the way, is probably the difference in the price of a petrol car to what we're probably looking at, whether it's the type of car we're looking at. So I think that's interesting. It's not immediate.
So the cunning thing here is, and I know you own both your home and a business, but you'll charge up at work and discharge at home if you need to, or sell to the grid if it's worthwhile.
Yeah, that's the ultimate thing. I want to remove my power costs for the vehicle, and so we'll be able to do that. So it won't matter if I'm working at home, or if I'm which like I'm working at home at the moment, or if I'm in the office. But the other thing we'll be able to do as well is we'll be able to offer that to any of our staff should they choose to go down that path as well. So I'll probably get a slightly bigger battery put in at work with that in mind. But I think because we know we're going to do that, I haven't gone to a larger battery. I know that currently a lot of businesses and homes are installing larger batteries with the federal rebate, because it's there's wasn't $300 per kilowatt of storage at the moment. So
Australia's installing 1,000 batteries a day at the moment.
yeah. So that's, I think, massive. So it's behind the grid. So everyone's talking about the problems on the grid, but we just basically removed our usage here at home down to probably less than 8 kilowatts a day off the grid, and we will do more than that at work. So we're going to a really small amount of actual draw from the grid in total.
Yes. I talked to somebody, just recently interviewed somebody and asked them the question, do you think we're going to get to the stage that we've, and you and I talked about this back in 2016, funny enough, is that, the battery's going to pay. And if you had the battery, you didn't need the solar. Because you could buy it so cheap during the middle of the day from everybody else.
So that became really apparent when we installed the battery here at home, right? So, for example, at the moment in Queensland, we're in the back end of winter. So this is happening in August, not just now in September, but in August, we were going to 0 cents or -1 cent from the grid through Amber. So in other words, I was better off to tell my battery to grab that power at 0 cents and then curtail my solar going into the grid subsequent to that. Now, my old inverter couldn't do that, but my new inverter, with its plug-in via Amber and the virtual power plant control that we give them, actually will do that. So, and I just, I'm currently teaching it, but that's what I want it to do.
And look, I think the government knew it, because they made the incentive, the rebate, is that you could only get it on the battery if you had solar. So, but yes, so coming back to your business, Decarbonisation. So you've got solar on home and work, you've got batteries, you're going to move to EVs, you're making your home and business batteries slightly under capacity, but you're going to over spec your cars, or spec your cars at the top, put a lot of storage in them, because when you're running events, your business is running things out in areas that sometimes you're not even connected to power. And
Exactly.
so having your business batteries or in your vehicle batteries and not being able to run your operations when you're out in the field.
Yeah, exactly. So what it's going to mean is that we won't be using our petrol generators when we're on sites where there's no power. But even the fact that we can take the cars to sites where we do have power, we're actually better off to do that because we can put the car right next to where we want to be able to power. It's a safety thing. We don't have to worry so much about cords and covering cords with spectators and people walking over them. You know, the car will be exactly where we want it to be in terms of our power station. There's a noise benefit as well because, of course, our generators are troublesome from a noise point of view. We have to move them so that they're not located next to our, the music and PA system. So there's some real benefits there. The other thing too is that we've got a lot of stuff that we can charge at work now that we've just invested over time as it's been replaced. So we haven't gone out and just spent $10,000, $20,000 in one lump sum. We've just slowly over time accumulated these things. And so the main ones are our obviously sound system are all on rechargeable batteries, and they've got 10 hours of run time sort of thing. So they'll cover a day of so that we don't need to have cords running power to them while we're running them, and then everything else is basically rechargeable. So we use rechargeable lights that we can charge at work again during the day. We have some solar lights as well that we put in the ground that will charge during the day, and then we just turn them on at 4 a.m. in the morning just to get us through to daylight for our customers. Our communications on site, our radios, they've got rechargeable batteries in them as well, so they're all charged at work. And then obviously our mics and things, we've got small rechargeable batteries. But again, so the big thing is making sure that they're not getting thrown out at site. But so because of that, we really only have a few things that we now need to run off the car, but we'll be able to offer that to our coffee guys. Hopefully they will get to a point where they're turning up with their EV and the trailer, and they're already next to each other, so it's easy for them to do it as well. They will get there.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we can offer them, hey, they're going to probably use, maybe 6 kilowatts on site to make the coffees, or 7 kilowatts, something like that. So if we've got a 50 kilowatt car battery, and we need 20 to get home, so we can offer some, So it's being able to do those sorts of things next. And
yes, because there's no point you not having generators and then the coffee guy or the food service running generators and polluting the atmosphere, but also that noise, horrible pollution.
So we're on that path now. So I think what we'll see other businesses probably heading in that direction more as well. We're not a particularly energy intensive business, but I think it's a good thing for us to do that. We're definitely seeing this is the thing about small business. We have to be financially better off doing these things. Like, we're not going to just go down this path if there's an actual cost to the business. I've got a business partner. We're going to justify what we're doing, but all of a sudden we can justify it because we're going to actually save money.
Yes.
And there's efficiencies as well, being able to turn up and be able to power yourself and not have to worry about whether the power might go down at your event site, which has happened where we've been on site and we've lost power from the council power box, and
yes.
So you're kind of scrambling around trying to figure out what to do. So
Yes, no. So you're looking not only to reduce your operational costs, but also potentially you could make money back from the running these batteries with your solar, and then also operational efficiency as well. And for a small, medium business, you're right. It's got to stack up. You've done the right thing. You started thinking early. And so, things like your battery sound systems and those things, when they come for replacement, you're always going to go in that direction. So well done, Brendon.
Yeah, thanks. And we're not finished. I'm sure the things will evolve and other things will become viable as we go down the track. And I can see where those things might be over the next little bit. It'll be really interesting to see, how much we can benefit from being able to sell back into the grid as this battery penetration goes through the market. There's obviously a lot of renewables that's being curtailed at various times during the day. So there's a lot of loss that's available to us, but how do we unlock that?
Have you got any other plans for the rest of your business, that looking at that consumer, fronting that consumer side of that decarbonisation?
Yeah, so wastage is a big thing that we've really worked on. So, for example, we produce metals now. We roll them across into the next season, so we don't necessarily run out of. We don't throw out these things. So you want to make sure you've given them away. Secondly, things like race packs. So if people don't show up to an event, we'll get a race pack. So we might have numbered them. So we might have number 168 not used in one event. So there's about $3 of spend in there. There's a race bib, there's stickers for the bikes, for going out the bikes, so we know who they are. Might be a couple other things in there as well. But so that's $3 for us as a business. But it's also, you're right, it's also a carbon spend. Like if someone had this paper, there's a race bib. It's not directly recyclable because it's got a plastic coating on it, so it doesn't degrade in the weather, so we can still know who they are. So we've got to try and not throw those out. So we now collating those after the races, and then we're putting them back in certain events as well. So that's probably taken about 25% wastage out of our business that we have on race packets. So because we have, so we had a 10% no-show, but we had to buy an extra 15% just in case we had more people. Well, if I running 7-8 events across the year in a series, then I can number, instead of numbering 1 to 1,000 7 times, I number 1 to 6,000. And, so there's 1,000 we didn't buy and create that we don't need. And then, just making sure we're collating at the end of the events and then putting those numbers back into the pool for the next event. There's a cost saving. It's time consuming. You've got to be able to have the system in place to do it. But there's a carbon benefit as well. So little things that, as you've been doing your business for a longer time, you can do these things. So it's those sorts of things, knowing your business and then thinking about what your impact's going to be, and then that's aligned with our business being better off financially. So yeah, we're heading in that direction. So we're doing more of that.
Yeah, because one of the things about events is cleaning up the rubbish afterwards as well. And you certainly see which bit of your event race pack is not wanted because you'll be picking it up off the ground.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, so we don't, that's the other thing too now. Obviously, we've got a lot more digital with our marketing and communications from our sponsors. So, back when we were first running this business, 2012, 2013, we were doing a race pack and it had a magazine in it and it had flyers from the sponsors, giveaways. We'll still do the giveaways, but we'll do it differently now. So we have a station and there'll be a giveaway. And so we'll take back, or the sponsor will take back and then bring to the next event what's not used. So there's none of this throwing out stuff that we had 10 years ago. That's for sure. And the magazine thing, we've got better options to get our sponsors in front of our customers than we ever had, through our marketing and communications that we have online, whether it's via our social media channels, direct email stuff that's going in with the important race information that they're going to have to open with very high open rates and things like that. So So our sponsors are better off, the environment's better off, and we're better off as well. So that's, again, getting those things to align is where the good sources, I reckon.
So, Brendon, where do you see the next developments coming from?
Yeah. So what I think, I sort of look at what we've done and gone, we've got bang for buck with what we've done. Going to amber gave us a big drop in our expenses. Batteries on our speakers and sound system at work was a big chunk. The car being portable power is going to be a big chunk. The next things aren't going to give us as great a return on our investment. So it's now looking at those things. So I know from home, heating our hot water is now a big chunk of where our power is. We heat it in the morning, and nighttime our batteries actually run down. So, but it's only 20, to 40 cents. So for me to add a battery to that, I'm not going to get a return on that. So I'm actually better off to take that off the grid at the moment. And that's the same at work.
I've actually got a solution for you, Brendon.
but I'm saying, like, reducing our power consumption through that, and also insulation. We're a classic Queensland situation. We don't have insulation.
Yes.
Like we added insulation when we renovated part of our house, but the rest of our house wasn't insulated. So and neither's work. So it's so insulation, I think, is probably where we're at.
Yes, yeah. No, insulation and when you get to double glazed or even triple glazed windows, then you'll know about energy efficiency. But your hot water for and I know I think you're almost an empty nester now, but you've lost your teenage kids. But
well, it varies, right? Like they're at home sometimes, and then they're not. So when they're home, when we're home, there's a heap of power being used in hot water.
Yeah, no. The cheapest household battery you can buy is a second hot water cylinder, and you run them in series. And so you're using that excess energy off your roof during the day. You're preheating. You use one as a preheater into your primary feed, and that's a really efficient, thermally really, really efficient system. Instead of taking cold groundwater, you're getting feed in at a second hot water cylinder, and that ensures you can heat the solar off your roof, and it be hot in the nights and the mornings as well, because you've going from a 300 litre to a 600 litres, having two 300 litre tanks, and it's a very efficient, and it's actually a very cheap battery.
Yeah, okay. I understand what you're saying there. What's interesting about this conversation is who's telling small businesses and homeowners that these things are options and available, because they're just not visible. And I think that's the power of getting that message out wider, would be huge, but it's not happening.
Yes,
it's just not happening.
People are trying, and certainly I hope some people watch this interview and get a few ideas.
Yeah, because there's probably a business there just to be going around and be able to offer that and show what the benefit is. And I think that's probably in this journey, one of the things that's been really hard is, I'm looking for the information, but it's not, it hasn't been immediately obvious what the benefits will be until I've done it.
No,
exactly. And that's the real problem, because then there's a fear of not knowing how it's going to go that then just, has probably delayed me, even myself, doing a few of these things. So, whether it's solar, now I've got the battery, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely need to do battery at work. So that's going in. And I know I'm going to get the car, and I'm going to take a bit of time to figure out exactly how to maximize the benefits and use it properly and things. There's definitely, obviously, everyone's talking about the range anxiety and things, but so that's the stuff that I think is actually holding us back in the home space, which is massive, and the small business space, which again is massive, particularly here in Australia.
Yes. Look, having people like you talk about it's important, because when people see other small business people talking about it, it's better than somebody lecturing from a podium. Brendon, thank you so much for coming on my show. It's been great to see you again. And we look forward to following you in your journey, and good luck.
Thanks, Jeff.